Good morning, afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our product roadmap update. We will be with you in just a minute. We're going to let everyone join the webinar today, and then we will get started. So we'll join back in just a minute. All right, well, why don't we get started today? Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. We're excited to be here. Today we will be providing an update on our product roadmap. Before we get started, though, I do want to just highlight a few general housekeeping items. We'd like everyone to know that the session is being recorded today and distributed to those who are registered. You'll notice as we progress through the session, we will want to get through most of our presentation today, but we will give opportunities to answer questions. There's a QA functionality in the webinar in the Q&A controls. We encourage you to ask questions. If you'd like to be highlighted as a speaker, if we have the opportunity, please do ask, and we will go ahead and highlight you as a speaker. Or you can ask questions in the Q&A functionality as well. If for some reason we don't get to answer your questions live, we will be able to get back to you. So please, do go ahead and ask those questions, and whether we answer them live or get back to you after, we're happy to do so. And then at the end of the webinar, we will ask you to complete a short survey. It will pop up on your screen. This gives us the best feedback and opportunity for feedback as we bring more webinars and connection points with TRG Screen throughout the year. So we would appreciate your feedback. All right. So today, we just had introductions. We're going to talk a little bit about the 2024 look back on the Optimized Spend Roadmap and into the future in 2025. So Liam Hogan, who is our product manager, will be doing that. I will finish the presentation today just talking a little bit about the things that we're working on outside of spend and touch on those. And most certainly we'll have Q&A to wrap up across any topics that you would like as well. Next slide. Okay, so my name is Suzanne Ward. I'm Chief Product Officer. Very, very glad to be here. I think I'm about almost a year in to being at TRG Screen, and very appreciative of being in front of all of you, and hope to meet many of you in person throughout the year. I'm joined by Liam Hogan. Liam, do you want to introduce yourself, and then you can kind of take over the presentation, and I'll circle back with all of you a bit later.
Absolutely. Thanks, Suzanne. Yeah, so I'm Liam Hogan. I am the PM for Optimized Spend. I've been working with the company now for about 5.5 years. But before my life as a product manager, I was actually a managing consultant for a market data consultancy. So I've been using and running teams using FITS, Informatch, and MDM across multiple years. So I've always been involved on the inventory management side of things. My job as a product manager really means working closely with our dev and product owner teams to make sure we're prioritizing and focusing the right effort on the right features at the right times to make sure we can meet our strategies. I get to talk to clients, I get to liaise with lots of teams internally, gather feedback, and help drive the strategy of the product. So it's really, really interesting as a job, and yeah, it's a great product, and we're looking forward to showing you some of that product today. So that's the introductions. So what I will do now is I'll talk to you a little bit about the look back at 2024, what we've achieved in the product, and then we'll take a look ahead at 2025 and some of the items we have in development and on our radar for planning and research. So in 2024, then we had 5 key releases of spend. We've been adopting a much more stringent release cadence this year. We've been targeting at least 1 release per quarter, which is roughly a 12-week cycle for us. And this is something we want to continue doing throughout 2025 and beyond, which really benefits us internally in scheduling and forecasting work. It also gives a lot of predictability for you as a customer in terms of when you upgrade to the next version of the product. So just for information, at the moment, our 2.5 release is in the last stages of progression, and that is due for release this coming Friday as well. Before we get into some of the details here, we won't delve into every single intricacy of each feature here today, but if you do want to follow up with any questions or have a conversation about anything you've seen, please do reach out. We're more than happy to schedule time and have those discussions in more detail on a call. So a great number of the features released in 2024 were actually designed with the Informatch requirements in mind. So I know a number of you on the call will be Informatch users or ex-Informatch users. So we have executed on our strategy of edit history and also some other features which we can take a look at as well. So please do feel free to ask questions about those. Okay, then, so for our 2.0 release, the theme for us was focused mostly around the import and reconciliation of key processes. So this includes our new Bloomberg reconciliation interface. And now this was our first iteration of the historical reconciliation of Bloomberg, providing the ability to load the change activity files into spend and help update those key terminals in prior periods. We also added regional settings for the generic and direct allocation imports, which means you can now define your own regional date and number formats for the file imports, which Spend will then read and translate into the system. And also direct allocations can now be imported historically, which is a big time saver. Before this release, we had to manually go in and create those records in the contract item snapshots. So for folks using direct allocations, which I imagine there'll be some on this call, this is a really key feature. And obviously setting those direct allocations in the system will be able to propagate through history into future billing periods as well. So really good stuff, and we're quite proud of our edit history strategy this year. Our 2.1 theme then was based around usability and efficiency gains. And this sees the introductions of our new Company Explorer to display departments and users in a natural hierarchical structure, something which we have borrowed from the Informatch design style as well. So we can talk a bit about that in more detail, and I'll try and demo some of that on screen. Equally then, our first iteration of the department historical view, again, something for the Informatch clientele. That was developed to allow users to snapshot back in time to see the department and users as they were for a specific month. And again, I can show you that as part of the company tree. And then lastly, some of the great work we did on Bloomberg, we also introduced the prediction logic for assignees in the generic interface. So this is really useful because you can now load usernames into Spend and have the system look up against the appropriate user to apply these to in bulk as a good time saver. In 2.2 and 2.3, we introduced the visibility of key records and further enhanced historical edits. So this had our new control for Active 2 on the contract items to allow closure of those records. And I can talk to that in a little bit more detail as well. But again, this is another feature which we have taken the design lead from Informatch. Additionally, we also have a useful view of the Contractual Spend Explorer, allowing the hiding of full vendor and sub-branches where a live contract doesn't exist, really giving you the ability to optionally filter out the noise of your data. Also in this release, we allowed the edit of user departments in history and applied these changes to multiple historic periods. This will update the user inventory for the period selected and rounding off the ability to edit user records and update all of the reporting that would come out of the system. Additionally, we added some other minor enhancements for default start dates in the HR upload, some termination date defaults, and change dates as well. And we also added some corporate structure configurability to cater for some of the Informatics requirements around non-unique department names. And then lastly, in 2.3, sorry, the Bloomberg data license was added to load all the invoice detail files that you receive from Bloomberg into inventory. And again, I can touch on that in a later slide as well. In 2.4, we focused our efforts mainly on the order management tool, which has had multiple improvements really to give more flexibility and visibility to the users of the product. And we can take a little bit more of a look at that again later too. 2.5 is focused largely for us on the contract request module for adding new contracts. And this is a new feature we are building in this behind the scenes, and I'll touch on that when we get to the 2025 roadmap. And we can talk about some of the other features we're building this year. Okay, so the Bloomberg interface then. So we have our new purpose-built UI, which was a move away from the one-size-fits-all standard approach to reconciliations to a more focused wizard-style walkthrough, again, trying to take some of the learnings from Informatch and apply them into spend. So now we can bulk create accounts and contract items, saving a lot of heavy lift. And again, these can be done from a historical period, really saving time and having to set up records in the right period on a manual basis. So we have core Bloomberg logic that's baked into these processes, which is going to save the user time and effort in reconciliation and trying to guide the user through what they need to do with their data for the varying status items that are shown on screen. One of the other really cool features, as I mentioned before, is the prediction logic. So what we do is we take the last user from the Bloomberg file and assess that internally to see which user this should be applied to. And the good thing here is that we've also introduced some different ways to highlight the difference between the predictions for open versus anywhere. So trying to align the commercial model of Bloomberg into the system to really highlight those decision points for the user. Lastly, you can also now use the -3 file as the price source for reconciliation, meaning you no longer need to upload a converted price file from Bloomberg. So there's always a default option to fall back to that. You can still upload the price file if you wish, but we will always take the -3 as a backup option. All of this really just makes sure we're improving the efficiency of keeping the Bloomberg terminal estate up to date in the system. Okay, Company Explorer then. So this is our 4th Explorer added to our homepage, which is front and center of our system. Now this allows the corporate structure of your departments to be displayed in a natural hierarchy. And the focus here has been on ease of use and navigation of management of inventory. So I think this is probably a good time then to bring across the optimized spend screen and try and demo this to you. So bear with me. It's 5 o'clock in the morning, so my machine may be a little groggy, and I'm hoping that my environment is going to work here, but here we go. Hope everyone can see that. So if we look at the example on screen, then we have a corporate structure with departments and child departments. You can see in my example here, we've got 3 different users. We have a user that is denoted in gray without inventory. We have a user who has a blue icon that does have inventory, and you can see that by the count of platform instances or direct allocations in their name. And we have another user with inventory who has a red icon next to them who is actually a terminated user. So highlighting this because what we have here is various toggles to let you narrow down the journeys of your data. So we have a closed departments and terminated user toggle. If I turn that off, screen will refresh and you'll see now we hide the noise of the closed departments and terminated users. So that is useful if you want to narrow down your journeys onto the focused departments and users that exist in the system without close dates. If I turn that back on, you'll see that we can now switch off the inventory departments and users without inventory. So again, we should now see the fact that we've got Dave Jones doesn't have any inventory. I can hide that away from the system. So that's really cool because again, it just gives you the options to use these in tandem and really focus the data on people that are attracting cost. You'll see the icons here will apply to both departments and users. We also have counts, as I say, so this is really good because it actually means that you can see at a glance if there's any child records underneath that branch that actually have any records. So without having to navigate through and see nothing, we give the user the opportunity to see if there's any active records effectively under each child. Okay, so the ellipsis icons then, lots of different options that you can use on each of the branches. For a department, you can add a user directly to that department. You can obviously add a sub-department to that department. You can edit. You can also move a department within the tree, and that will take the department and all its users and put it to whichever portion of the tree you wish. We can show the managers, which is relevant to order management. We also have our inventory snapshot. And on the user level, we have the ability to add inventory here, edit or delete the user, show the approval path. And again, that's key for when we come to our order management discussion later on. And we have the ability to obviously collapse all parts of that tree. So really useful functionality for each individual part, which means you can primarily manage your users and departments in one place. The other thing we have done, and we've kept this from all the other explorers, is the step in feature, which is really useful if you're managing large data sets within the view. So if I step into that financial advisors portion, what I can do is I can drown out the noise of everything else and focus in the journey on the specific department or user inventory that I want to look at. So again, that's borrowed from the other explorers, but I think it's really useful to highlight. Then we have our find feature, which is again something we've implemented on the other explorers. Now, this is really cool because what we can do is we can search for departments, we can search for users, and we can search for inventory items as well. So if you know which person you want to look for, you can type their name in. If you know which key part or which vendor you want to look for, you can do that as well. So if I type in Mr. Murray, it's going to automatically take me to the first hit that I have on that system. So you can see here we've got some icons here which also denote the pathway to a matched record. So the arrow will always tell you that there's something below that parent that's relevant to your search term. And what the matching record will do is it will highlight the row and it will give you a nice blue bar on the record as well. So that's a really cool way to see and highlight the data quickly. If you cycle through the results though, what the system will also do is it will take you directly to that next row without having to do anything else. So this will highlight the row and take you directly to that match. So really powerful feature. Again, not something that's new, but it's new to the Company Explorer. And then lastly, what I want to show is the edit history portion of this. So if I open up a department ellipsis, you'll see here we've got an inventory snapshot button. So what this will actually do is it will allow you to look at a snapshot of that department for the month that you choose. So if and bear in mind that this is a testing system, we are out of kilter with dates, so please do ignore that. I'm actually in 2025-03 in reality. If I was to navigate back to 2025-02 as a historical snapshot, you'll see that what we do here is we focus the journey in on that specific department, and we give you the option to look at all of the inventory for that department for that snapshot. We also give you the ability to drill into the users. So you can see here, I have all 3 users for that department. I can see the inventory for each. And if I double click on the inventory for Luke, what this will do is it will directly take me to the snapshot inventory record for that user. So here I can manage my inventory effectively from the snapshot period that I'm in. So really, really cool feature. And what we also do is we give you the ability to see all of your platform instances for the users in one place as well. So you don't have to look at it by user, you can look at it by complete inventory of that department. The other thing you can do, which is really useful, is actually use the drop down to navigate between snapshots. So you don't have to jump back out and go back into the ellipsis. You can say, I want to look at the prior month and see what the inventory was at that point as well. The other thing to note here is that we have made our users editable in history. So if we look at Mr. Dave Jones, you'll see his start date is stating January the 2nd, 2025. So we also have the indicator of the active from up here, which you'll see across the system in multiple places where we allow historical edits for records. This user is active from January, which means that if I jump back to the month prior to January, he won't exist. So we have given the ability to show the historical active from for the users, and you can also edit the user records in history as well. So if I were to edit Bobby Murray's department and change that to something else in this specific period, he would obviously be updated, his inventory would be updated, and you would see that in the historical edit. So that's the historical mode for the Company Explorer. If I jump back out now, and let's take a look then at the active 2 for contract items. This is again something that we implemented into Optimize Spend to try and align to the Infomatch way of doing things, where you can close records and hide them from the system. So this will allow the closure of a contract item. And the benefits of using this feature mean that you can keep the records around in the system. You can obviously traverse the history of that item, look at the allocations, even amend allocations of that item in history. And Spend will obviously not allow you to keep open-ended allocations if the record is closed. So let's just take a quick look at that on screen as well. I think that's probably useful. So if I go to my Contractual Spend Explorer, and let me type in, just type in Bloomberg. Find a record that I know exists with inventory. Okay, so you can see here that I've got a contract item. It doesn't have an active 2 date yet, so it's a live record without an end date. I have current allocations on this record. I have one single user. So if I try and close this now, what will happen is it'll give you a nice pop-up dialog with the ability to actually choose a date to select the active 2 from. So you can see here we have historical periods, but we also have future periods. Now, this is controlled by a system option. You can define how many periods in advance of your current period do you want to see in that list. So it gives you the ability to close a contract item in the past, in the current period, or in the future, ready for potentially a contract that's been cancelled. You may want to close your contract items in the future to make sure that no one else can use them. So if I was to now try and close this contract item, it should give me a warning because I've got inventory attached to this. Active allocations after the closure period. So if I then close this, remove this allocation, I can then go and close this record. And I'm going to actually close it in the current period. Save. Now, if I go directly to the module, this is the way you would see your closed contract items. So we will hide them from the Explorer, but if you actually want to see the records that are closed, and actually this is not coming up as closed, but theoretically, I'm not sure why, but this record should be showing under the closed item here. And what you would do is you'll be able to then come into the record, and you can actually click on that active 2, use the bin icon, confirm that. That will reenact the record and make sure that you can now use it again. So lots of different places we hide that record in the system, mainly the Explorers, any of the inventory views that you have for users where you can assign inventory, and also some of the reconciliation processes as well, where we would hide that record. So just a useful feature to make sure you can drown out the noise of all of your records that no longer exist or no longer should be used. Okay, let me drag that across. I will talk now about the Bloomberg data license interface. So this is a new interface which we added in 2.3. and allows for the upload of your Bloomberg BVAL and data license invoice files. So it's a dedicated UI, and we've taken the design lead from our Bloomberg Terminal reconciliation wizard. And this really just guides the user through 3 key steps of account creation, services, and contract item and inventory allocations. So the cool thing about this interface is it's our first iteration of having service creation in bulk. So here now you can choose to bulk create the services that don't have any external service mappings, which means that the system doesn't know which code is that's in the file to associate it to. The system will now allow you to basically bulk select those and create those, basically defining the data category that should be applicable to the services. So a real time saver there. In the inventory step, a simple UI allows you to specify which platform instances should be taking the allocation of those services. And we will show you a simple update type for each of the records that have changed quantities or costs for the month. Really, it's time saving because basically you can, once you've uploaded all your services for the first time, you can manage that on an ongoing basis, create the new ones that come in on a month-to-month basis, and then assign all of your inventory out with basically very minimal clicks. Now, the good thing about this means you can basically onboard a brand new platform with very minimal clicks and a lot of ease, really saving you a lot of time in data management. So I would say that if you want to find out a bit more about this feature, we're happy to demo this to you. So please reach out to us in product or your relationship managers, and we can take you through a bit more of a detailed demo on this because it's quite good stuff. Okay, that's the Bloomberg data license then. So for order management in 2.4, we spent a lot of time working on that part of the system. But before we talk about what we've done, I think for the folks that probably don't use order management or really interested in what that is, I'll talk you through it conceptually what order management is. Okay. So order management then is our optional module in Optimize Spend that allows you to change the way users interact with the system. It has a 3-phase ordering process with the goal to allow end users to basically manage their own inventory. It's got a user-friendly interface which simplifies the process for users, ensuring the ease of use and accessibility. Users here can order for themselves or for others, with the Spend product catalog providing a centralized, comprehensive view of available products and services for streamlined ordering. Order management can also empower all of your users, and you'll be able to enable a user to initiate and request inventory changes with minimal barriers. And then once an order is actually raised, it will move on to the next phase of order approval. And here we offer flexible approval actions, allowing any user to approve or reject specific order items, ensuring the agility is there in the approval process. The order approval routes are dynamic, and these support both simple and complex approval workflows tailored to the organizational needs of the customer. Now, furthermore, we offer advanced order routing, allowing for inventory requests to go outside the user's normal profile to additional approvers. And then once the order is approved, it will go into fulfillment, where the inventory management will happen, where administrators can create, cancel, or update inventory in line with the requests, minimizing risk of errors introduced between the requester and the administrator. The fulfillment also includes a robust audit trail, maintaining a detailed record of all inventory changes, including approvals and reason codes, ensuring that we have transparency and accountability across that part of the system as well. Additionally, you can also automate vendor communications, where you can enable the creation of vendor order emails using customizable and user-defined templates for efficiency. So that's order management in a nutshell. What we have done in 2024 is we've introduced a new method to preview the approval route for any employee in the Company Explorer during the order initiation. This increases the visibility and the management of approval routes for administrators and end users. We've also introduced new manager level approval parameters to support more complex order routing. And these parameters are configurable by the end user down to specifics such as platforms, vendors, services, and even data categories present on the order. And we've implemented a vendor order rule sequencing feature to allow enhanced workflows for order fulfillment and support future automation of vendor order emails. Also added some configurable questions which you can surface during the initiation phase to capture key information from the initiator that can be surfaced then in subsequent phases of the order process. And we've also introduced a really cool optional batch step to automatically raise cancel orders for terminated users, really streamlining that process of managing inventory for leavers. So that's the 2.4 order management. There is more to come in 2025. So let's take a look then at our 2025 roadmap. So what we want to do is we want to focus in on the value that we're providing to you. So I just want to take you to the right-hand side of this slide. Now in product management, we categorize our work by phase, but we're actually going to commit to delivering value in the form of a few things this year. The first one being our new contract request module. Now, for those that aren't really familiar with this yet, we are building a contract tool which will allow you to define workflows for adding, renewing, and cancelling contracts in the system. So what will happen is a request ticket will be created for an action, say adding a contract. That request will then be routed to the appropriate teams in your organization, however you define that flow, to gather information about the contract and record all of those changes in a draft record. And then once submitted, the approval will then get the ability to see that record, and it will be written live into the core database on approval. So this basically should streamline the management of contracts in Optimize Spend and provides the ability to get non-admin teams involved in the contract management flow in Optimize Spend by providing access through the business user interface as well. So more to come on that. We are actually designing some of the latter phases of this, so we will require some input into this. So I'll talk a little bit more about working groups and things shortly as well. Additionally, then we're going to introduce the ability to automate FactSet permission updates directly to the FactSet APIs to make the process of inventory management more efficient and reliable in this area. We're also bringing in the ability to configure user roles in the system and have orders created if there are any deltas in the inventory between your user and the profile user role that we have. We're also going to look to introduce more control and flexibility around the service rules in the system and make this more user-friendly. So we've got things on our roadmap, such as being able to chain multiple items together in a group and also define how those specific groups work with triggers and targets. So lots of work to do on that. Also mentioned more enhancements to order management. So ultimately with the ability to automate the end-to-end process for orders. So whether that's for adds or cancels, we should be able to define by platform which orders can be initiated, approved, and fulfilled in an automated fashion. So if you are interested in any of these features in more detail, please let us know and I can walk you through those intentions and gather your feedback at the same time. Okay. All right, so as we have items in development and planning for our future releases, we also know we need to gather research on the items that are coming up on the roadmap. So this is where we are asking for your help. We would like to send out some more invitations for future working groups. Immediate requirement for us is to verify our contract request renewal process. So this will be feedback on how you expect a contract request to be raised, the process of approval, and the overwriting process of an existing record. So ideally, we'd love your feedback on this, and we'd love to build up a core working group of clients that we can call on to help with the research phases of our product development. So not only is it important for us to get the feedback at the design stage, but also at the qualification stage. So we would like your input for testing as well. So we would really like to verify that we're building things in the code that actually meet the business requirements and usability standards that we want to hold ourselves to. So if you are interested in being part of this working group and the team of people that we can call on, maybe it's not for the features we've discussed today or contract requests, but please do let us know and we can put you on our list to ensure that you're notified for each individual ask that we have. So both the product email and my email are on screen. Please do reach out with any feedback we have, and I'll be happy to jump on calls with anyone and discuss in more detail. So that is everything on the product roadmap for 2025. Do we want to jump into questions, Suzanne, before we jump into your slide?
Yeah, we sure can. That would be fine. We can change it up. All right, let's see if there are any questions as they come in. And please do, at the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A section, and you can should be able to write in there. And if we don't have any questions at this time, I can continue the presentation. Okay, here we go. Okay, Liam, how does CME pay per user levy work is one of the questions.
Yeah, good question. So at the moment, we are in the design phase for this, but ultimately, this is taking the requirement that CME charge for anyone that has a netting capability on the CME product. So what we are trying to design here is the ability to assign a charge to a record that has had netting capabilities. So as I say, we're working that out currently, and that would be probably a good topic for us to reach out to clients and understand how they would expect this to be designed and work. But yeah, the work in progress for that. Happy to discuss that in more detail.
Great. And there is another question around AI capabilities. And actually, we're going to talk about that in just a minute on the one slide that I do have to present. So if it's okay, I might hold just for that, and I'll try to talk about it there. Any other questions specifically for Liam? And if not, we can always circle back. We'll have another Q&A in just a few minutes. Okay. How about we go to the next slide with the overview, and then we can circle back on questions. Okay. So today, Liam, and thank you for your presentation today. So Liam talked a little bit about the contract request, order management. There were so many features that we talked about, both what was in development in 2024 and a forecast into 25, including the FactSet APIs. If we think about, and there's so much of a part of our portfolio. So as many of you know, we have spend, we have our usage products in the market today. We have pair and ACT, a variety of products that fulfill our portfolio. These are just a few that I'm going to talk about today, and found that these would probably be most applicable to all of you. But most certainly, if there are items that you have questions on, we can ask them in the Q&A, but thought these would be the most thoughtful for this presentation. So let's actually just talk about the AI question first. AI is a huge part of the way that we're thinking about our future. There's a lot of considerations for how we go to market with AI. One, to ensure that we are doing it in a way that meets data privacy and security standards, of course, of our customers, and the way that we work with the data itself. But most certainly, the most important thing is that we're delivering value to our customers. So there's actually two ways that we're doing that at the very infancy, and we started these POCs last year. One was on the Exmon side specifically. And this natural language model, in essence, allows users to self-serve. And for those of you who are not aware of Exmon, we have a multitude of usage products in our portfolio today. One is Research Monitor, which we'll talk about in a minute, tied to our Bloomberg terminal tracking. Another one is Exmon, which is usage for referential data, and then Research Monitor for subscriptions. So for Exmon specifically, this AI assist allows users to ask very natural questions, obviously with natural language, and being able to chat them and get results that directly align to questions about cost optimization. So asking, what is my highest cost in the month or over a quarter or of a time period, and it actually answers it in the chat. That is a huge step forward for us because this has been interactions that require customers to self-source or seek help with information that is contained oftentimes inside of a report. So the data does exist, but how do we serve it up in an easier to consume manner and have the answers readily available. One, we want to ensure that customers are able to self-serve, and that two, we get very easy, using new technology to get these easy answers for our customers. So our XMON tool is one of the first to build out our AI assist. Same with the with our pair product. So for those of you who are not aware of pair allows customers to understand policy terms and pricing related to exchange information. And with pair, also, we have very complex data with large implications on licensing and pricing and overall usage related to exchange data, which is often very hard to find because the data is nested in the system. And then also, what is the meaning of that change, of a policy change or a pricing change on someone's license? So again, taking things that are hard to access or hard to understand the meaning of and serving it up in an easy to use format, which many of you now I'm sure are getting used to AI assist products. For both of these products, we will have the ability, I think on the pair side, since the data is not specific to customers, that will be rolled out with the product itself. With XMON and with really any AI assist, we'll have the option of having these solutions, but a big step forward. Now, on a go forward, also, we're looking at ways to use AI to automate very manual processes in our system today. So one extension of this, not only will we think about how to take these AI assists that are trying to grab very kind of complex nested data in the system and bring it to the forefront very quickly, we'll likely extend that same concept and say, how can we improve the insights and information you're trying to get out of spend? Or when we build out our Bloomberg terminal usage tracking, instead of building a dashboard, how do we think about building AI capabilities so that it's very, very easy and very pointed to get and access that information quickly? And most certainly, from an automation standpoint, thinking about how we can reduce manual processes in the systems today that are not necessarily reliant just on programmatic use of APIs, for example, but how we can use AI to do that. We're probably at our infancy in some of those strategies, but they are coming in development in 25 from a proof of concept perspective. So hopefully I answered the question there, and if not, you can ask me a follow-up question. So AI is definitely on the forefront, again, to highlight and bring insights more readily available to end users in a very immediate response using natural language. The other kind of transformational thing that we're doing, and I talked a little bit about this as it relates to usage, is, our portfolio has been about, our portfolio acquisitions has been about extending the overall value delivery of our usage solutions. So we started with Research Monitor and offering a usage solution to understand at a user level what users were using for specific subscriptions, online subscriptions. Then through an acquisition of an expansion, we acquired XMON that is about referential data usage. Now we're looking at and actually we have an active POC kind of ready to hit development around terminal usage tracking. We're starting with Bloomberg, but it would be something that we would extend to all, what terminals are really the priority ones to select, but starting with Bloomberg. Why? Because it's the highest cost or expected to be one of the highest costs of some of our largest institutions from a market data cost perspective. Here we'll get down to the function level. So we'll look at things by user, screen descriptions, active time, passive time, any way that you can analyze underutilization of a Bloomberg terminal. Now, we're trying to provide as much information as possible from Launchpad to Excel to chat, any which way, and every single customer is going to look at determining utilization differently, and we want to give as many options as possible to do that. But this is a very exciting new solution that we're building, again, actively as a proof of concept that we have out working with a few customers. and we will initiate development in 2025. And our target goal is to be launching it in a beta program by the end of the year. And that's pretty exciting. So from an evolution standpoint, if we go to the far right-hand side, again, there's so much that we're working on, but if I were to boil it down, all of our solutions, when connected, if we think about not just spend, but we think about spend, we think about our usage products, we think about payer and ACT and what we're doing around compliance. The value to us long-term is to unite these solutions. Now, that's not to say they'll be rebuilt or we'll build out a bigger platform, but how do we unite the data? That is our biggest thing that we're working on from a data architecture and enterprise architecture strategy standpoint. And there is so much to be determined and mapped and designed from this, but we will continue to think about how we build out a platform and an analytical platform and uniting this data as one. So more to come there, but you will see likely some service because we do need to offer additional platform services that as we think about having more customers on more products in the system, that they not only communicate from a data perspective, long-term from a mapping perspective, which is our goal, but that also we have some of the basics in the industry, which is, being able to ensure that you log on once to multiple products. Again, this is part of our go forward that's absolutely necessary as we unite and bring these applications together so that they can truly be utilized and the true value of these solutions will come to fruition over time. So that one is definitely a little bit more projecting into the future and holistic, but do know that building that ecosystem of our data to support a broader analytics strategy, a broader platform architecture strategy, and uniting, like I said, as simple as being able to sign on once across multiple products is really kind of a representation of our future and where we intend to go with that. So I know that's super, super high level, but these are really the areas that we're focusing on this year. And as I think both Liam and I just said, each one of our products has a very, very specific roadmap. We're happy to go over with you if those are applicable to your specific needs as a business, but did just want to bring you the highlights today to talk about. And again, we can deep dive with your teams as necessary. Okay, so I think with that, we could probably go back to Q&A and see what questions we have. All right, let's see. Okay, there's a question on AI specifically and pair exchange compliance. And yes, you're excited, we're excited. They have spent a lot of time on the POC, and actually a good part of 24 was building out both of these POCs for these solutions. So many of the team members on the pair side that you may have interacted with, Laura Winthen and Noelle Steele, they are actively a part of our product management team today. So Laura is our product manager for that product. And so I can directly put you in contact with her. The great thing is that we're in our final pre-production testing. So you have a great opportunity to help us test even the AI assist if you'd like, provide us feedback on top use cases. Or just learn more, and I can put you in contact with her. All right. Any other questions? Okay. Can you provide an update on your spend reporting strategy? Is the plan to replace internal reports with optimized insights? So great question. So I'll take that one, Liam. So we definitely have a broader strategy to reevaluate what a type of analytical platform we really need to provide our customers. I think there is an opportunity actually to continue building out reports in the source system. I don't think we want to get away from that. I do believe there was probably a time where we said that might not be something that we continue to do, but I think that's important to do because customers, I believe, always want that, and that's what we hear. Um, as a part of reporting, and this goes back to that data strategy, building out the broader ecosystem, um, connecting all the data. Our goal is to build an extension of API and an API framework and set of standards where we will offer more APIs in the future, read-only APIs where you can extract the data, put in data lakes, data warehouses. And today, the way you do that is extracting it and whether it's through, JSON or CSV, possibly through an endpoint. So for the analytics platform itself, I think there's an opportunity to us to reevaluate how we make that product more simple, how we curate some of the dashboards, and deliver greater value more quickly to our users. And so those are experiences we will work on throughout 25 through a series of research projects that we'll have and understanding kind of how we need to improve that product. So I know your question was specifically around internal reports. So the question is, do we plan to replace them? We don't, unless Liam, you might you might overrule me from a product standpoint, but most certainly, if anything, we reinforce the need to have those reports in the source system, and then we'll build a larger data strategy around building out APIs for people who want to put it in their own Power BI, in their own Tableau, Domo, or they want to put it in a data warehouse. So that's kind of the strategy there. Okay, so any plans to increase the scope of data retrievable via APIs? Yes, that's exactly what I had just said. We both need to evaluate how we need to improve our API strategy, both write APIs, not just bulk upload, but how can we improve specific data points that someone wants to update. We also need to think about how we create more data APIs or read APIs so that it's very, very, and based on like design thinking APIs, like how do you as a user want to use the data and build endpoints that way. And again, though, that's where we have to like get the data set, build the right framework, and then build a set of APIs on a go forward. Now, in the meantime, because that will take time, we might evaluate opportunities to improve our APIs that we do have today, but the longer term strategy is there for sure. Like ability to create tickets via the API. Can you ask a follow-up question? So, and I don't know if you want to jump on and ask the question and maybe I would be able to answer, but the question is, do we have the ability to create tickets via the API? So I just might need
Order management focused, I think. Right.
Ah,
Well,
okay.
and actually, I can probably just talk to this slightly.
Sure.
This is something we have heard from other clients in the marketplace in the recent past as well. So I think it's definitely something we should be looking at. And obviously, that talks to the ability to talk to other systems like ServiceNow and make sure we can communicate tickets and updates and things to those systems. So the short answer is possibly. With a busy roadmap, I can't promise anything this year, but it's certainly something that's on our radar. Is the answer? Unless Suzanne, you want to enlighten on that one?
Yeah, and I would just say the more conversations we can have around that, we are actively talking to customers today that are using Jira and are asking for how do we update inventory. If the more customers that we have wanting to know about, you know, that scenario or ServiceNow, the more information that we can gather from our customers about the ways that you need to use it or create services that help you do that, we need those conversations. That's a part of our active part of our product process right now. And then any plans to have the optimized data natively available on data platforms like Databricks or Snowflake? I know this is a need, and most certainly, maybe that would be an extended conversation offline, but absolutely, I think the goal is to build that data ecosystem in the right way so that it's not necessarily sourcing from the source system, but we build that larger kind of larger data model, an ecosystem where we can build APIs on top, build AI on top, like, and that's a part of that, but it not necessarily something that I can answer directly immediately, but we can definitely stay in contact with that. And I think we might have a follow-up anyway. Okay. Any last questions? Okay. So most certainly, the one thing I'd like to say is that everyone in product management, across all the team members, we have an open door. So what we want to make sure is that these follow-up questions, if I didn't answer them or only answered partially, let's have a conversation. Let's make sure we understand your needs, because that is how we build the next roadmap for 20 later in 25 into 26. So the more that we can actively engage in understanding how you need to use our products today, where you're integrating our data with your systems, please do reach out. So Liam has an open door. I have an open door. Any of our team members do. But please do send me a note, and we can make more time to discuss. All right. So with that, just a kind reminder, you will get a survey. So please do help us out and provide feedback on that survey. And then we thank you for your time today, and we will distribute this recording after.
Thanks, everybody.
All
Appreciate
right,
your time.
thank you. Thanks. Bye.